Hi everyone, and welcome to another Simplicity Sewing tutorial. In today's video, I will be demonstrating how to sew a vest with a lining. Let's get started. To sew a vest with lining, I'll be using pattern pieces from McCall's 8537. The pattern pieces I'll be using are pattern piece number 12 and 17. I have cut them out of fabric as well as lining. To begin, with right sides facing, and I placed some X's down here on my fabric to indicate the wrong side of the fabric. Yours may be a little bit easier to tell if you have a front and back. So with right sides facing, you want to go ahead and match up the shoulders. And now we will pin them in place. Once you have them pinned, let's go ahead and stitch using a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Now that you have your shoulders sewn like I have here, you want to do the same exact thing to the lining pieces. So I have stitched my shoulder seams on my lining the same exact way. Now let's go ahead and put these together. So with right sides facing, we are going to pin the lining to the vest. We're going to match up our centers. We're going to match up our shoulder seams. We're going to have the raw edges even, and we are going to start pinning in place. We're going to pin along the neck edge, the front, as well as the arm openings, but we will leave the sides open. Let's start pinning now. Now that you have it all pinned, now we can go ahead and stitch. Again, we're going to be stitching along the neckline, the front opening, along the hem, as well as along the armhole openings. We will not be stitching the side seams closed. As you can see here, I have not pinned those. We will be leaving all 4 side seams open. Once you have your lining pinned onto your fabric with right sides facing, let's go ahead and do all of our stitches now. Now that you have it all sewn, let's go ahead and trim our seams. Once you get around a curve like this, you do want to notch out some of the fullness. So I'm just going to put a few notches here. This will help reduce the bulk. Okay, now that we have it trimmed, we can go ahead and flip it right side out. I am going to go through the back here along the side. I'm going to come up and I'm going to pull this front through the shoulder like so. So go ahead and start from the back side that we left open and then come through the shoulder to pull the front through. Same thing for the other side. I'm going to come through the same back opening that we brought the other one through and pull it through the same back. Poke out any corners and then we can give it all a press. Okay, now that we have it all pressed and we've turned everything right side out, so this is my lining, this is the right side of the fabric here. Now we're going to turn the vest so that it's right sides facing. So I'm going to fold it over like so. So with right sides facing and raw edges even, I'm going to pin the vest and lining at the sides, matching the armhole seams and the lower seams. So I'm going to match the armhole seams right here. And I'm going to place a pin. I'm going to match up my notch here on the main fabric and pin. I have the lining out of the way. I'm just pinning the main fabric. Match up the lower edge as well. I'm going to pin a little bit of the vest, not all of it though, because we need to leave an opening on the vest so that we can slip stitch it closed. But I did pin about 1 inch along the lower edge. I'm going to do the same for the top. Just kind of rotate the pieces here, and I'm going to place a pin here. We're going to begin stitching about 1 inch on the lining, stitch down the main fabric side seam, and then we're going to end on the lining down here. Make sure that you back stitch at the beginning and at the end. And then again, we'll have this opening that we will need to slip stitch closed. I'm going to do the same thing to this other side here. Now that you have both side seams pinned, let's go ahead and stitch using a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. So let's go ahead and stitch it now, back stitch at the beginning and the end. Okay, once you have stitched it, yours should look like this. So I still have my lining open here along the side. You do want to open it up and go ahead and press your seam allowance open like I've done here. Next, you just want to fold in your remaining seam allowance here on your lining pieces, and you can go ahead and press these flat, and then we can slip stitch these open and closed. So my opening over here is a little bit smaller because I did stitch a little bit further up on the lining. You can stitch a little bit further if you just want to see how far you can go, but just remember you need to get in here to press your seam allowance open. But once you have, again, turned in your lining seam allowance, now you can go ahead and slip stitch your lining open and close. So let's go ahead and grab a needle and thread, and we can slip stitch our lining now. Okay, once you have your lining slip stitch closed, you can give your vest one final press, and you are all done sewing a vest with the lining. Well, that is all for the tutorial. I really do hope that you found it helpful. If you would like to see more sewing tutorials, you can check out the playlist here on YouTube, or you can head on over to simplicity.com/sewing tutorials. Until next time, blessings everyone. Bye.